Subscriptions were supposed to make life easier. Instead, for a lot of people, they've partly become one of the most frustrating parts of modern life. Because today, almost everything wants a monthly fee.
And truly, why is everything a subscription now? Because first it was just Netflix and it was like, okay, fine, that's chill. Now you have to have every single network, like HBO, Hulu, Netflix, like everything, just to watch the one show that you want to watch, because every single show is on a different platform now. Also, it's not even just like streaming networks anymore, because tell me why Snapchat has had this subscription for like a year, and now they're literally selling it for 99 cents for an entire year, because that's how desperate they are. They just want $1 out of everything. I'm not even kidding when I say that you can buy Snapchat Premium for McDonald's points. Like, I am so serious. What is going on?
The music you listen to, the movies you watch, the apps you use, the software you work with, the cloud storage on your phone, and then features in your car.
Since when did we live in a world where we have to have a subscription for everything? What do you mean this computer doesn't already have Microsoft and stuff on it?
Even parts of everyday life that never used to feel like they needed recurring payments, and this raises the bigger question: are subscriptions taking over the world? Because this is no longer about Netflix, Apple Music, or YouTube Premium. This is about something much bigger. This is about how the modern world has slowly shifted from ownership to permanent renting, and the craziest part is that it happens so gradually that most people barely noticed it.
I'm so sick of them. I'm tired. Like, it started with streaming services and it seemed like a good idea, right? It was like, okay, cool. Instead of buying DVDs, I can just pay X dollars a month and I can get all these shows. But now they're starting to take away the shows, and there's 900 subscription services for things.
Yeah.
For all these different streaming channels, right? And now I'm seeing that they got subscription services now for refrigerators.
Yeah.
For rich people.
Yeah, rich people be wilding out with their fridges.
Yeah, they got subscription services for washer dryers. I saw there was an idea for subscription services for cars.
There was a time when the deal was simple. You bought something once and it was yours. You bought a CD and you owned the music. You bought a software and you used it. You bought the movie discs and you could watch it whenever you wanted. You paid one time and that was the end of the transaction. That model actually made sense, but somewhere along the way, especially after 2020, the world started moving in a different direction, and now instead of owning things, you are constantly paying to access them.
We all pay a subscription of $85 a month to unlock our fucking doors. $85 a month, almost $100 a month, not to live here, not for your rent, just to get in the fucking door.
Today, any service, application, or software you want to use has a subscription plan attached to it. The music you listen to, you subscribe. On YouTube, you subscribe. Even if you want to use the basic platform organizational service, you subscribe. And in many cases, even when you want to go to a hospital or another service provider, you're expected to create profiles, accounts, and system tied to your personal data just to be part of the process. Now, to be fair, subscriptions are not entirely bad. They do have their upsides. They can actually make some tools accessible at the beginning. They can spread out costs. They can even keep services running. But when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it starts to feel like, crazy. The personal cost actually adds up.
There used to be this version of the conversation about subscriptions where it was all about choice, right? Like, we have too many streaming services. Which one should I pick? I have subscription fatigue. And yes, I think that obviously still exists, but I think it's gotten, more exacerbated. And now we are in an environment that is meaningfully different, where I would call it subscription captivity, where a lot of our essential services, not luxuries or nice to haves, like essential services, are locked behind these recurring payments that are becoming harder and harder to escape.
Now, take my own situation, for example. I pay around $7 for my Apple Music family plan, and in that family plan, I'm only allowed to add 4 individuals. I pay for Netflix, I pay for Amazon Prime, I also pay for Photoshop, and I pay for Adobe. Now, I use DaVinci Resolve to edit my videos, and I still pay for other apps on my iPhone, and this is where the frustration really starts. Now, DaVinci Resolve has an edge, because if you use DaVinci Resolve, you'll notice that you can basically make a one-time payment and have the software for life. That is a different model. But when it comes to Photoshop and Adobe, they make you pay for every single month, and over time that becomes exhausting, because when you actually calculate the cost across a year or across several years, it becomes really crazy. That's the part people often ignore.
I miss the days where when you actually purchased something, it was yours. Yeah. Now, when you purchase something, for you to even use the item that you purchased, like use it fully, These companies are now requiring you to purchase something else.
A monthly payment always looks small in the moment. $5 does not look that scary, $10 does not look scary, even $15 does not look scary, but stack off enough of those together and suddenly you are paying hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars a year just to maintain access to things you've already built your daily life into, and that is the trap.
I just got a new laptop and I go to download Word and Excel, and it wants me to pay a monthly subscription fee, but on my old laptop, I just bought it one time, a one-time fee, that was it, and I had it for life on that computer. Now it's Microsoft, Adobe, random note-taking apps, photo editing apps that you need a subscription for. You can't do a one-time fee with them. When I tell you that my paycheck is getting eaten up by these stupid subscription fees, they're renewal fees, yearly fees that I can't even catch up with. I don't even know that I'm being charged for them. So I got an app called Chargeback, and it will literally text me every time a brand's about to feast on me. At this point, I feel like I need a subscription to breathe oxygen.
From ownership to dependency, in today's world, you are not just longer buying products, you are being pulled into ecosystem. This is what makes subscriptions so powerful for companies behind them. It's not just about selling you something once, it's about keeping a permanent grip on you. Because once your music library, your workflow, your files, even your family habits and your photos are there, it becomes very hard to leave. That is why it feels like there are no one-time payments. It feels like the moment you stop paying, the service itself disappears, the features disappears, the convenience, and suddenly the thing you built your routine around is no longer fully yours. And that is why it's bigger than just annoying bills. It feels like the world is moving towards a model where access can be taken away at any time. Now take the iPhone for example. If you buy an iPhone today, it does not end there. The base price alone is already expensive, and every September new iPhones launch at prices that start at around $800, and let's be honest, it just keeps going up. That is already a serious amount of money, but after buying the phone, you are still expected to subscribe to more things. You have to subscribe to iCloud, you have to subscribe to Apple Music, and if you want anything extra, you still have to subscribe to that. And that's where the frustration actually comes in. Why do I have to buy an Apple product, whether it's an iPhone, a MacBook, or even an iPad, and still have to pay separately for Apple Music? Why can't at least some of these things be bundled up in more generously, especially where the hardware itself is already so expensive? Basically, that's the issue. It's not just that companies are charging money, it's the fact that they are charging premium prices for the hardware and then layering subscriptions on top of it. So it starts to feel less like you bought a product and more like you bought an entry ticket into a system that keeps charging you. I really think the decline of one-time purchases have done damage to the tech space, and now it's spilling out into everyday life.
This is the year of the canceled subscription for me. I'm done. We all need to be done. If we keep going down this route, everything is going to become a never-ending subscription service, and we will kill all the other businesses to save a buck. Just to save like a little bit of money right now, we are shooting ourselves in the foot by enabling and empowering all these other subscription companies and all these like big corporations, and we're going to kill off all of their competition, and then they're going to be the only ones that are left, and then they're going to screw us over bad.
Because this no longer stops at phones and software. Today, you can barely be part of some clubs, communities, or services without some kind of recurring fee. You pay every month, you pay every year, and to be honest, it all adds up. This is why the conversation matters, because people act like subscriptions are just a small convenience feature for modern life, but they are not really small anymore. They are becoming the default pricing model for the modern world, and that is a huge shift. Entertainment used to feel simpler because when I was younger, you could get the disc, maybe it was pirated, maybe it was not, but at that point one disc would come with a lot of movies in it, maybe 20 movies, maybe a whole collection of cartoons, and once you had it, you could just watch, and that experience was simple enough. Today that world is basically gone. You cannot even really buy discs the way people used to. Instead, you spread across endless streaming platforms: Prime, Hulu, Disney, Netflix. And if you actually want to access everything people are talking at any given moment, you will need to subscribe to multiple services at once. And once you start doing the math, it becomes, absorb, because each one may look affordable by itself, but together they can climb into hundreds of dollars. And that's the trick with subscription. Basically, they hide the real numbers by splitting them into smaller numbers. Now I have Netflix, and where I'm from, it cost me around $5. This one is relatively cheaper, and I also use Amazon Prime and also use YouTube Premium. Individually, none of these actually feels huge, but combine them together across a month and then stretch it across a year, and suddenly it became something much larger. And the worst part is the psychological effect. You start getting random charges at the end of the month, and you keep asking yourself, when did I subscribe to this? When did I opt into this? Or why am I still paying for this? And to be honest, it never really stops. This is part of what makes the system so effective. It's not always designed to hurt you all at once. It's designed to become invincible, until one day you look at your statement and realize how much your life is actually being billed monthly. Now, this one didn't stop at software, and that's where things get worse. Subscription did not only stay in movies and music and software, they spread into hardware. Now, basically, they spread into cars, they spread into gaming, they spread into productivity, they spread into communication platforms, and they spread into everyday services. Even in cars today, especially luxury cars like the Mercedes, some features and services are increasingly locked behind subscriptions or paid services.
Capitalism has really gotten to a dangerous point, because why did my sister tell me yesterday that her car has a subscription service? They have to download an app and subscribe to a subscription service, pay monthly, like $20 a month, to be able to unlock their car remotely. Their remote doesn't just unlock their car. They have to use an app on their phone and pay $20 a month. I have to pay you $20 a month to unlock my car.
So even after buying the hardware, there's still another layer of payment attached to the experience, and that is the bigger pattern. Now, basically, you buy the product, but you don't get the full experience unless you keep paying. That logic is showing up everywhere now. Now let's talk about the money, because once you look at the revenue side, everything starts making sense. In 2025 alone, Apple Music reportedly generated approximately $11.3 billion in revenue. Apple does not really fully break down their exact music numbers, but its services business has continued to grow, helped by bundling and family plans. And just to think about that for a second, more than $11 billion from a service layered on top of a premium hardware ecosystem. YouTube, on the other hand, was reportedly able to generate about $20 billion in a year from subscription related businesses. That is kind of a massive number. Now, Netflix itself generated about $45.82 billion in revenue in 2025. Amazon Prime was able to generate about $49 billion in 2025 alone. So basically, now when you start putting all of those together, you are looking at roughly about $150 billion just from subscription driven access across music, videos, and premium platform benefit. That's why this keeps happening, because from the company side, subscriptions are one of the greatest business models ever created. They are predictable, they are recurring, and they are scalable. And once people are locked in, they are increasingly hard to walk away from. So yes, from a business perspective, it actually makes perfect sense. But from the user perspective, it feels like their entire world is being reorganized around permanent payment. And what makes this even more interesting is how platforms now sell status instead of utility. Now, basically, Snapchat will give you a more exclusive looking experience. If you pay a small fee, your profile can make you, feel more special. You get access to certain extra, and it's not just about using the app anymore. It's about upgrading your presence inside of the app. Instagram used to treat, blue verification badge like something rare, something tied to public recognition. It actually felt special and it felt selective. But once subscriptions enter the picture, that's changed. Now the feeling becomes less about identity and more about payment. And once enough people can simply pay for a symbol, it naturally starts to lose its uniqueness it once had. Now, basically, Twitter followed a similar path after Elon Musk, but it suddenly paying could actually affect visibility, features, reach, and status in ways that changed how people interacted with the platform. And that is the bigger issue. Subscriptions are no longer just selling access. In many cases, they are selling identity, visibility, and perceived value. Now, even free platforms are moving that way. WhatsApp is a good example of where things may be headed. For years, WhatsApp was seen as one of the most simplest and most useful platforms because it was free free, accessible, and widely available. But if you use WhatsApp Business, you already start seeing monetized features through ads and paid business tools. And when people look ahead, they can actually, already imagine a future where more and more of this ecosystem becomes monetized. That's what makes this conversation bigger than any one company. No one actually wants to be left out of recurring revenue. So more and more platforms are testing how much users are willing to pay for convenience, visibility, customization, storage, access, and fewer ads. And every time users accept this, the model gets stronger. Gaming never escaped it either, and the thing is that no major platform is really left out of this. PlayStation charges an online multiplayer access fee, Xbox charges for online access and subscription-based gaming ecosystem. Microsoft charges for many of the software tools people rely on for work. Even on a basic Windows computer, you can still end up paying extra for apps that many people feel should be part of their experience already. So this is not just limited to music or streaming. Basically, it is everywhere.
What do you mean? This computer doesn't already have Microsoft and stuff on it? I was using Word just fine. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, sorry, you don't have a subscription. Subscription? Shouldn't your ass already be on the computer? I bought a computer to write stuff on. Why can't I write? You don't have a subscription. Okay. Gets the subscription, goes to print something. Oh, sorry, you don't have an HP Instant Ink subscription. You can't print. What do you mean? It's fully loaded with ink. We got 2 of them. Color, black and white. Everything you need. Right in there. Sorry, you also need a subscription. Like, tell me why I'm just trying to write a simple document and print it out and it just cost me $25.99. My stuff that I already paid for. $25.99. I haven't even left my house. Costing me money.
That is why it feels like a category and more like a culture. Now, the most dangerous part is how normal this has become, because I once saw a post on Reddit asking, if you could wish for one thing in the world, what would it be? And one person replied that he could wish for a cure for blindness. Any kind of blindness you could actually think of, but for it to work, it will require a subscription fee. Now, basically, this one sounds like a joke, but it's also the perfect summary of where the world is actually moving towards. Solve a problem, build dependency, and add a monthly fee to it, and suddenly something that should feel like freedom becomes another recurring bill. And that's what makes this trend so uncomfortable, because the more normalized subscriptions become, the more people stop questioning them. They just accept what it has to offer. And to be very honest with you, it does not make sense. Now, I have a mild conspiracy theory when it comes to the iPhone. The first iPhone I really remember using deeply was the iPhone X, and back then it had 64 gig storage, and that feels like a real starting point. Over time, Apple kept pushing the iPhones as one of the best phones for taking photos and videos. And to be fair, iPhones do take a large high quality file. A single photo can use a meaningful amount of storage. A lot of videos can eat through storage faster. And basically, or let's say truthfully, I don't have a problem with good quality taking up space. What I find interesting is the ecosystem that forms around it. Now, Apple made it incredibly easy to move from one iPhone to another by basically including your old iPhone into your new iPhone. That sounds convenient, and to be very honest, it's convenient. But what people don't always think about is that every generation of your usage follows you forward. So if your old iPhone is full, your new iPhone starts to feel closer to full. Also, if you use 64 gig before, the next phone may push you towards 128 gig. If you use 128 gig, you might want to go to 256, then from 256 to 512, then 1 terabyte, and now the conversation has gone up all the way to 2 terabytes with the iPhone 17. None of those are actually small amounts of storage, but once your habits, memories, photos, and backup all move forward with you, the pressure to keep expanding storage starts to feel normal. And once storage becomes a problem, the next thing Apple suggests is iCloud, and that part actually frustrates me. Now, how do you buy a phone for around $1,000 or $1,200 and then you still get pushed towards monthly cloud subscription as a recurring fee? And to be honest, it's not just a one-time payment, it's actually the world subscription have built. So are subscriptions actually making life better? To be fair, There's a reason this model actually won. Subscription creates steady updates. They allow lower entry prices in some cases, and they give companies recurring revenue. They can actually make premium tools easier to start using. That is the argument you can say it's in their favor. But here is the problem. The model may be efficient for companies, yet still exhausting for users, because from the user side, it doesn't feel like nothing is ever fully yours anymore. You are just maintaining access. You are paying to keep your place. You are paying to avoid losing convenience. You are paying to stay inside a system that have actually quietly become essential. And once enough of life works that way, people start feeling financially crowded without always understanding why. Now, here's the bigger question. Imagine a world without so many subscription-based services. Life would probably feel simpler. You would buy something once and know it was actually yours. You will not keep getting, hit with strange bills at the end of the month. You will not constantly wonder what the next renewal is. You will not feel like every product was just, it starts another payment cycle, and that is what actually matters, because subscriptions are not just changing how people pay, they're changing how people live. They're changing the relationship between people and the product they use every day, and that is the real story here. Not just that subscriptions are annoying, not just that they're expensive, but they are slowly redefining ownership itself, and maybe that is the most unsettling part of it all. The world did not move from buying to renting overnight. It actually happened step by step, app by app, service by service, feature by feature. And now we are living in a world where more and more of modern life only works as long as the monthly payment keeps going through. So yes, subscription may be convenient, yes, they may be profitable, yes, they might even be useful, but they also have created a world where users are constantly paying, constantly renewing, constantly being tied to systems they no longer fully control. And that is why the conversation is actually worth having, because the question is no longer whether subscriptions are part of the modern life. The question is, how much of a modern life are we willing to keep renting? So if you like this video, do also like, comment, subscribe, and support the channel. Thank you.